All right, what's going on, you guys? You know what time it is, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here, Men of Impact with, you already know who I am, Dr. Brad, your purpose clarity coach, helping men, high-achieving men who just feel like there's something else more out there for them, help them gain clarity on their calling so that you can turn your purpose into a profitable business. And this show, Men of Impact, is a show that is dedicated to high achieving men to help them discover their calling, turn purpose into profits, and impact the world. And so if you're here for the first time, we welcome you. If you're back from watching this show before in the past, again, we thank you. For those of you who are watching live, we're going to bring a phenomenal guest for you. And for those of you who are watching this replay, again, we thank you. Make sure that you chime in. And just to give you a little summary about this show provides what I like to describe as the perfect combination of both faith-based and entrepreneurship principles designed to equip that high-achieving man with the clarity and strategies to go from stuck in their career to successfully pursuing their calling, creating both income and impact, and living a fulfilled life. So as always, you know what time it is. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna say that again. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you like and share this, because there's gonna be some other men and women who are gonna wanna hear the information that we're gonna be talking about today. And so, as always, I like to start off the show just talking about something that's been on my mind. And so I recently watched a documentary, which was a phenomenal documentary, which I highly suggest anyone, if you're interested in documentaries or just great stories. I'm one of those people who just love stories. People, which is why I started this show, is because I just love people's stories. But there's a documentary called The Weight of Gold, and it's produced by Michael Phelps. And it talks about kind of the struggle of the Olympic athlete, of what happens like post-career. And it sheds some light on something that I had no idea about, that these high-level people, these high-achieving people, I mean, we're talking about Olympians. This is the elite of the elite of the elite who get to the mountain, so to speak. And even the ones who have, medaled and gotten a gold medal, after they go through this Olympic process and they win, oftentimes there's this big downside and depression. And what I gained from this is that oftentimes they struggle with who they are, what their identity is. And as I was watching this documentary, I kept thinking, man, this isn't just consistent with athletes or, people who, post-career after something. This is people like me and you. And I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't at one point, even once I became a physician, even once I started a business, I kind of sat and said, man, like, how did I get here? I still feel like there's something else out there for me, despite the fact that I had successfully achieved where I got. And so if you're in that place where you're trying to figure out, like, man, I feel like there's something of greater purpose, something of greater calling out there for me, I know exactly how you feel. And one of the things I want to do is offer you a free purpose clarity guide. And so here's what I believe. I believe every single person, I don't care who you are, was designed to be phenomenal. I'm talking about thriving and be massively successful, impacting the lives of other people in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We're not just here for ourselves. We're here to be able to create massive impact in the lives of other people. And there's something that you have been strategically designed, what I like to call your God-given purpose, AKA your calling, to be able to do that. Most of us, we're working really hard on something, and we'll probably have maybe some success in it, but I'm talking about optimizing both success and fulfillment. And the reason why many of us aren't is because we just don't know what that thing is. See, what I figured out is no matter how hard you work on something, if you're working on the wrong thing or going in the wrong direction, it will not optimize your success or fulfillment. So if you're looking to optimize that success, optimize that fulfillment, optimize the impact with which you're supposed to be having on this earth, then go and get this free purpose clarity guide. I like to call it the Men's Purpose Clarity Playbook. It is free. It is a 3-step guide to help you gain clarity on your purpose. It's at drbradmd.com/playbook. And along with the video is a PDF guide for you to be able to fill out so that you can start to get clarity on that calling that you were designed to be able to destroy in this life. And so, you know what time it is, you guys. It's time to bring on today's guest. I'm extremely excited to have this gentleman. So, you know, I'm a firm believer that birds of the same feather flock together. And I had a phenomenal guest several weeks ago, Mr. Shadrach Stevens. Shout out to my man Shadrach. And as he and I were talking, he said, you know what, man, there's somebody that you got to have on this show, as he exactly fits what I like to describe, you know, a man of impact, somebody who's a man of faith, who's extremely purposeful and impacting the world around him. And for the brief time that he and I have had a chance to be able to chat, you know, I'm grateful to have met him because he's making big things happen. It's not all about him. It's about the impact that he's trying to have in the world. And so his name is Mr. Nicholas Benjamin. I'm not going to go through his full resume, or else we'd be here for the whole hour just talking about the resume. But this man was a phenomenal high school, collegiate athlete, got a mechanical engineering degree at Southern, and also got a project management degree from Florida Institute of Technology. Has worked at NASA strategically and specifically with the astronauts and scientists and engineers to execute science on board the International Space Station. Now, let me tell you, sometimes you have these first times, like this is the first time I think I've ever said the International Space Station and have met somebody who's worked with it. So he, as my man Shadrach said, is a great fit for the show. What I love about him too is he's just an authentic person. Like, it's not just engineer. My man produces music. My man is part owner of a minor league football team. So he's kind of a jack of all trades, but I'm going to let him tell his story. So without further ado, Mr. Nicholas Benjamin, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate it.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. Just excited to be on the show and, you know, honored and humbled to have the opportunity.
Well, man, I've obviously, you know, mentioned some of the things that you do, but for the people who are watching, why don't you describe what you do? Like, you know, obviously on the promo graphic, we talked about the fact that you work with NASA and so forth, but kind of in your own words, what is it, you know, what is your job? What do you do?
Right now, I'm actually transitioning back to the training portion of the payload operations director,
Okay.
which is sort of equivalent to the flight directors that you see down at in Houston or JSC. If you've watched any of the space movies, the people that are in that control room that are controlling the operations that go on space station or any kind of space activities, that's what I do payload activity wise. I work out of Huntsville, Alabama, Marshall Space Flight Center, which we are the head of all of the payload activities that go on space station. Now, I know you're thinking, what is a payload? So a payload is basically an experiment that is taking place on the space station. That can go anywhere from their exercises to cell development to plant habitat growth. A lot of the things that we're working on right now is dealing with long duration flights, right? So right now I'm starting to transition back into that training to be the lead of that room. Before then, I've had numerous just certifications in that area as an operations controller, payload communications manager, which was the voice straight from the ground to the crew, a payload planning manager, which worked with all of our international partners to plan out the exact days of what the astronauts would be doing on station. So I've worked very closely with a lot of scientists and different NASA personnel to carry out day-to-day operations on the space station. Before that, you know, I worked kind of with the management executive team as an executive intern that basically looked at how the center runs, right? Everything from HR to procurement to payload operations to engineering. So I was able to get a vast, you know, majority of looks of what it takes to run the center. So that gave me a great opportunity to meet new people and make some more, links out there.
So man, you got to tell me, was this the dream at first? Where did you want to become an engineer? Did you want to work with NASA and the space station? Like how did this come to be? Because as I was reading your bio, obviously you were an athlete. You were a phenomenal athlete. I mean, first of all, you said, I think it said four. I mean, you played 4 different sports, and it sounds like you were great at all 4 sports. But I mean, like, tell me, how did you get to where you are now? And we talked about this just a second ago in terms of stories. Is this what you saw? Is this what you were going after? Like, how did you come to the conclusion, like, hey man, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer, and then I'm going to start working on things like as big as the International Space Station?
To be totally honest, I never saw myself where I am right now. And it's crazy that the title of this episode is Finding Your Purpose, because I'm one of the people that I'm still looking for and pursuing that purpose right now. So, people reading the bio, they're looking and say, oh, NASA engineer and this. I'm still in search of what that means to me, because coming out of high school, like I said, I was drenched in athletics. I love sports. I still love sports. I was pre-med. We had a pre-med program. My dreams were to be either a general physician or radiologist. That's what I thought that the path was for me. Right. And some things went crazy with football. I was on my head to go and play at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. Right. And that didn't happen. I found a home at Southern University. They had a great engineering program. I was great at numbers and math. That just seemed to work for me. And, my father was very influential in that. He said, son, I think this is a good fit for you. I said, all right, I'll try it. And as I got into it, I learned different things. I started to find my niche. And I was actually going to work for GM when I graduated. That was my plan. I had been a GM scholar for a couple of years. It's crazy because the last job fair that I had where NASA came to me, I didn't even go. I didn't go because I didn't have a haircut.
Hey man, typical us, man. We got to be looking clean.
Always be presentable. Always make yourself presentable. So I didn't want to misrepresent myself. So I didn't go. And however, one of God's purposes, he sent a guy that was from Andalusia, Alabama, Mr. Brett Smith, that was working at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville. He had read my resume, looked at my bio, and he came and actually got me out of class.
Wow.
Said, have you ever thought about working for NASA? I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, you ever thought about Huntsville? I said, no. And even after I had that talk with him, I had more aspirations to continue playing ball, and you know how those mindsets are. And my dad said, son, go take that job. Go take the interview. And it was the best decision I could ever make.
Really? So one of the things as you're talking and as I've talked to guys that I've coached, and as I've talked to some of the people who have coached me, it's obviously I'm a faith-based person. You're a man of faith. And I feel like some of those, I don't know if you call them big decisions or pivotal times in life happen because it was purely God, and nothing, no matter how hard we could have worked, no matter how much time we put in, if he's got a path that's supposed to be for you, it will happen because that's where he wants you to be. I mean, because what I'm hearing is that a guy from NASA came to find you in a class and ask you if you want to work with NASA, which doesn't sound typical to me. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know what, we can work hard. And I'm not saying don't work hard. I mean, I want everybody to understand what I'm saying is, yes, you put in work and you work hard, but some of these turns in life will happen because God is literally like, I need you. We're about to turn right now. Not because of how hard you worked, not because you were motivated, other than the sheer fact that this is what I have planned for you.
That's true. That's true.
And so, I mean, that's what it sounds like to me in terms of this. Like you were destined to go down this path.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, even times after starting the career, my biggest struggle has been myself wanting to do what I felt like I should be doing, or want to go or through the path, even career-wise, that I should be doing. So that's what I still talk about, still finding that niche and still seeking out that purpose on what it is that this career not only does for me, but does for the people around me.
Well, so let's talk about this, man, because it's actually going to be a very great and unique show because, you know, I think a lot of people will see someone of a very high caliber and character as yourself and career and say, man, or even myself, like, they got it all together. They got it figured out. Like, obviously they found their thing, and they're pretty much just, life is great, and they're kind of riding into the sunset. And I can honestly say, and this is what I was saying at the beginning of the show, man, I mean, even having, became a physician, and it's so funny you mentioned that. By the way, I was mechanical engineering going into college and turned pre-med once I got to college. So you and I flipped it up.
Right.
Because I knew I was good at math, and I was an athlete in high school. I wasn't as good as you. I didn't play 4 sports. I was injury prone. So my hoop dreams was gone by the time I got to college, So I didn't have that difficult thing, decision to make. But yeah, so I was mechanical engineering, then flipped to pre-med, and, went down this path of saying, okay, yeah, man, we're going down this path, made it as a physician, successful, and got to this place still thinking like, I feel like that thing, like, I don't know, that thing that I'm supposed to be doing, like, I'm grateful. And you probably feel the same way, like, extremely grateful for where I've gotten, extremely grateful for everything, but I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
And I had to come to that conclusion. But the cool part about it is that, and we'll talk some more about this in a little bit, is that it doesn't stop putting in work. It doesn't mean that I stop the job. It doesn't mean anything other than the fact to keep putting in work, and clarity continues to come with movement. You know what I mean? So I think it's good because it's not, and nor do I feel like we were supposed to just do one thing. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of fell into this idea that, man, I'm this doctor, and so I'm just supposed to do doctor. I'm just supposed to wear a white coat. And when I would have the urge to do something else, it was almost like, well, no, that's not what a doctor does. And so one of the things I want to talk about is you're not what I would consider your average engineer. I think when people think about engineers, they think about somebody wearing the glasses, punching the numbers, and that's it. But, you outside of what you do as an engineer and work with NASA, you also got your hands in a couple other things. Tell us what those are.
Yeah, man, look, it's to touch on a lot of things that you just said. My career choice gave me the opportunity to be able to do these different things. So when you look at a purpose, when you look at the path that ultimately God paves out for you, it's almost unbelievable to think about how, right? Mm-hmm. When I left college, my whole goal was to play football. I wanted to continue playing football, right?
Yeah.
So when I took this job, I was able to still get to a point to where I could be involved, right? So this team, the Huntsville Rockets, at that time we were the Rocket City Titans. I came back and I started playing semi-professional football.
So you were playing. So you were working.
I was working it. I would go to work. I would leave work. I would go home and change, and I would go to football practice.
Wow.
And it was some of the best times of my life, right?
Really?
We came in, we were able to win a national championship. We went 15-0. Great times, great memories with guys. So after that, I started coaching the team because after a while, it started to get to a point to say, hey, these people pay you to think. These are grown men, hard-hitting football players that we aren't getting paid for this. This is just for the love of the game, right? So I had to understand, okay, it's time for me to walk away.
Yeah.
So I started coaching, and then I had the opportunity to go and co-own the Huntsville Rockets football team. And along with the purpose of what we're talking about it gives me the opportunity to impact the lives of my players, my coaches, my fans, and not only the game of football, because a lot of these guys, we have guys that range from, ages 18. I think the oldest we had was about 45, 46. And me being a younger guy, a younger coach, a younger co-owner, they still look to me for certain things. And that's the thing that I feel like football does for me. Not only just being around the game, but this organization is something that we do things for the community. We try to make sure that our guys are in tune with the community, not only to put a great product on the field and win football games, because we know that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having a good team. However, at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach you how to be a great man. Am I perfect? No, I'm not. I won't say that in front of anybody. But at the end of the day, how I live and how I act and how they see me react to certain situations and my reaction to those situations should point back to the man of faith, the man of opportunity, and taking advantage of that opportunity. So the Huntsville Rockets organization, man, is just something that I've always been in love with. After a couple of years, we turned into the Huntsville Rockets from the Rocket City Titans, and I've been in love with that organization ever since. Other than that, we talk about producing music. I've always had a love for music. Being a preacher's kid, I've been playing the drums in the church since I was 6, 7 years old. And I was actually in the band up until I had to start playing high school football. And my band director actually went and asked my coach, "Hey, can he march at halftime?" And my coach looked at it, he said, "Man, that's my quarterback. I need him." So I had to get away from the marching band, but I've always had a general love for music. So even with the music impacting different lives, and we know that music has a way of taking us to different places, taking us to, different areas of our emotions. I also use that to impact the lives around me, not only with my music, but with the people that I work with, the lives, the producers, the artists, any kind of management that I work with. I just want to be a light that they can see and say, "Hey, he's a pretty good guy."
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to the team, obviously you mentioned, being able to impact the lives of men. One of the things that it mentions in your bio, and we talked about this before the show started, is that when you write a bio, you almost examine every word carefully, and it's put in there for a specific reason. And you said, you find every opportunity that you can to be able to impact the world around you. What do you mean by that, and what is your framework of thinking when it comes to that?
It can mean a lot, right? We talked about me being an executive intern with the executive team. When I went into this position, it was very humbling. It was an honorary position. However, they brought me to that position to show what I could do, to see where my niche was within the organization and the agency, right? So every opportunity that I had, I know a couple of times we went to different areas for meetings, and we would have some people from other points of the agency going to do different speaking engagements at schools, and I would just tag along. And while doing this, I kind of found a niche of, just like we talked about, just going and talking to kids and talking to different individuals, not only just the kids, but teachers, administrators, people that are older than me, and they look at me and they say, "Hey, I think you really have something to offer this in this arena," right?
Mm-hmm.
So moving back to early on in my career, it was always, and you were an athlete at one time, and I still consider you always athlete, right?
Yeah.
So we know how we were bred. We know how we were, hey, get it done. You got your game plan, go by, stick to it. And let's go back to what you said about, hey, I was a doctor. So doing something else, I didn't feel like this was what a doctor does. So you had to reach outside of that box, as Shadrach would say, think like they're in a box.
Yep.
And find your purpose. So even early on in my career, I went through the NASA First program, which is a program that the agency puts on to kind of cultivate its early career leaders. We did a lot of self-assessments, a lot of assessments that taught me a lot about myself, how I dealt with people, how I dealt with conflict, how I dealt with, just different areas of my thought process. And as an African-American man growing up in the southern states, South Alabama to be exact, we don't take that on of knowing a lot about ourselves early on. I'll say that. And that took me to a different place. I mean, one of them, I never read the assessment again because I thought it was all wrong. Right. Mm-hmm. But as I studied it, it became that was me. That was me. Right. So I had to understand that. I had to go back and have a thought process. So I got in touch with the NASA Speakers Bureau, and every opportunity that I had, I would go and speak to different schools and different kids. But when I would go speak to them, it was a lot different. We would talk about NASA for a short while. Mm-hmm. But after that, I just wanted to talk to them. I just want to say, hey, I'm the exact same person that you are sitting there.
And I think that's powerful, man, which is one of the reasons why this, I started doing this, man, was because one, COVID had started, and I was just like, what can I do right. with some of the gifts that I have, some of the things that I can do, and I don't know, provide insight. I think something special happens when you can let other people know just how authentic, vulnerable, human you are, so that somebody can say, man, if this guy Nicholas is really no different than me. Man, this guy Brad is no different from me whenever you peel back the curtain and look at their story. And I think all of us to some degree have an obligation to be able to share. I mean, because look, man, the reality, and I was telling somebody this the other day, it's the Facebook fraud. You know what I'm saying? It's everybody want to post all the good stuff about, what's going on in life. But the reality is, I'm saying, we've all gone through some pains. And I think it's going to be, better if people can truly understand that, like you said before, we aren't perfect. We weren't built to be perfect. But I can, hey, you know what? I've learned some things, and how about I shed some light on what I've learned, the mistakes that I've made, and how I've turned some things around, so that you can, number one, look at me and say, man, I mean, Brad's no different than me. Nick's no different than me. But I can also, after relating to who he is as a human being, say that young person, or just even another adult, say it's possible. And I wanted to create an environment for people to be able to say, you know what, it's possible, man. It's possible to get clarity on that purpose. It's possible to do this. I'm curious, man, whenever you were doing these assessments, what have you figured out are your gifts? What are the things that is your wheelhouse that you know what, I'm phenomenal at this?
Man, it's tough, even as the assessments, because I still take these things on a daily. I may go back and take them because I understand, the questions that you answer are based on your emotions at that point in time, going through at that point in time. So it's good to go back and take those assessments at a different time, at a different aspect, at a different headspace, just to be able to assess you totally, right? We're all people. We're all different, right? But one thing that it taught me, I've always been a people person, right? I've always been able to own a room. I've always been able to navigate a room. Mm-hmm. However, that's not where I get my energy. When I first started my career, I was very quiet. And by quiet, it's because I would think a lot before I spoke.
Yeah. I
wanted to make sure that I was right. I wanted to make sure that I didn't say the wrong answer. I wanted to make sure that my question wasn't dumb. Mm-hmm. But learning how leaders navigate, learning how people look at leaders, they're looking for you to make the wrong assumptions sometimes, just to be able to own up to that. Right? To make the wrong decision and take that with a grain of salt and fix it. Right? So one thing that it taught me, along with learning a lot about myself and a lot of how I navigate my own thoughts, but it also taught me that at the same time, I can be a great motivator, a great leader. I can make decisions that not only are the best for what's going on, but the best for the people. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've taken to go further along in my career now, because the people are the product. When we talk about different organizations and different companies and Fortune 500s, we see that they take their people, their importance is a very high level because people are the product. It's a big difference between a boss and a manager.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Right. So when you're thinking about that and you try to move on and you try to learn, look at these assessments. And like I said, we didn't do that growing up. We understood as athletes, hey, I need to show how boastful, how strong, how tough, how right I am. And I had to learn that. I learned that the hard way. And that's fine. That's fine. As long as the lesson is learned, right? As long as you're able to go back and assess that and understand that, okay, mistakes will be made. So how do I react from that?
Yeah.
The trials that I'm going through, how do I come out of those trials?
Man, and that actually leads to something I want to ask you, man. What do you think up to this point has been the greatest challenge that you can say, you know what, I've overcame this challenge? What's been the greatest challenge up to this point?
Myself.
Tell me about that. Because I feel like I know, but I don't know if everybody else understands that, because I get it. But what part of yourself?
Just a slight difference between cockiness and confidence.
Tell me more about that.
That's a very thin line, right? And even though a lot of people, probably some people that's watching this, say, man, you've always been very confident, but you've always been humble. But there's a way that you present that to other people. I remember one of my early mentors in my career, he said, you're great at what you do. You do this job at a very, very easily to say that a lot of people struggle with it. However, sometimes it comes off as that you know that. So as a team member, as a team player, as a leader, as a manager, you have to understand the importances of what your God-given gift is to do something easy that other people struggle with. And you have to be able to relate to that. You have to be able to bring them up to that level because you have your things that you don't do well as well. So, and I still work on that to this day. I still work on that. I try to work on it every day. I'm not, like I said, I'm not perfect. I mean, we may come around and we start talking and here you go. I'm talking about this, but I'm working on that, and that's, like I said, when I go back to what you said, my greatest challenge was, I think it's myself. It's never been the non-ability to do the job. It's never been not to have the want to or the how to on how to navigate different arenas. It's been myself and trying to understand how to navigate my purpose, right? And I'm still learning that. And I think I'll learn that until the day God calls me home. And I mean, anybody who feels like they know it all is wrong. Anybody who feels like they can't be a better person is wrong.
Man.
As one said, that the man who says he can't and the man who says he can are both right.
Are both right. I think that was a Henry Ford quote. You mentioned something about the greatest challenge being confidence versus cockiness. It's being arrogant or being confident. I think nothing's wrong with being confident, but arrogance goes into that almost feeling like there's a deserving part of it. Like there's this, this lack of humility. You also mentioned something about purpose, and I think one of the things that we have to understand is that it's a process. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole purpose thing is a process. And I like to define it as that it's that unique way that you use your gifts and talents and even resources to be able to apply to serve someone else so that other people's lives can be better. And the reason why I use that definition, man, is because really and truly, many of us are trying to discover our purpose. When if you look to the definition of what I just said, it's something we should be living out every day.
Right.
We should truly be trying to find a way in every situation that we have, whether it's me as a husband here with my wife, as a father with my kids, as a leader in my clinic, as someone who's trying to lead men in my church, finding ways to be able to use my gifts and talents and resources to use those in such a way that I can serve other people to make their lives better. And that is a daily process. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a daily process. That's not a, oh my gosh, I've discovered my purpose. Purpose is a process that should be done daily. What most people, I think, are trying to figure out is their calling.
That's true.
Which is that thing that you were designed to. And you know, I just feel like God is sovereign, man. I mean, he's the one who will be like, now is the time. Like all the things you've gone through before, you've prepared, and so now is the time to start really going after that calling. But there's some preparedness I needed you to go through. There's some things that, you know what I'm saying? And so many of us are trying to just be like, man, discover that purpose. I found that purpose. What I found is that the more I started just living out purposefully, the calling came, because I got so used to the process of using the gifts to say, how can I use this to help somebody? Man, you talk about, like I said before, impacting the world around you. What are you trying to, with everything that you do, even at work, what you do with the team, what impact are you trying to leave? What are you trying to have happen every time you go to work? Is there a like something you hang your hat on? Like, you know what, man, like,
before I got there.
Say that one more time, because I don't know if they heard it, because it was I was trying to talk at the same time. Say it again.
Making sure that I leave it better than it was before I got there. That's it. I don't care how big or small. And some days that's tough, you know, because that could be the smallest thing, from speaking to somebody walking through the door, or making a breakthrough, scientific, whatever. It can be as big as small as you think about it, because I watched the show, the last one you had, talking about success. So how do you gauge your own success, right? So if I woke up every day and I said, hey, I'm gonna make somebody smile today, I made that day better. Maybe not. It might have been a fake smile. It doesn't matter. They smiled. So I just try to do everything, man. And like I said, it's tough. And the last year and a half, with all of the promotions and things that I've gone through, I've taken a turn in my life that I never saw myself going to. And I've had to deal with that, and while navigating other things to keep myself on the right track. Has it been easy? No, it hasn't. However, you know, having conversations with you like this, and having conversations with friends and family, that purpose and that calling has started to come into fruition. And is it all the way there? You know, going back into what you said about, you know, God's plan, you got to be in tune though. You got to be in tune, and you got to be ready to listen, because at the end of the day, I can tell you many times I went where I wanted to go. And it vastly came back into where I had to work that much harder just in that situation, or work that much harder to get to where I could have been if I would have just listened.
So, you know, again, shout out to my man Shadrach. He had a post the other day that said, make sure that good thing is a God thing. And it's one of those things, man. And I feel like, oh man, I feel like so many people who are watching this be able to understand what I'm saying, is that one of the things that haunts me is I feel like I feel like I have talent in multiple things. Now, understand, I'm not saying this to be cocky, right? But I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. What I'm about to say, Nick, is that you're like, man, I can do a lot of things. And so because of that, when opportunities come, it might be difficult to say no. Matter of fact, no might not even be in the picture, because I'm like, oh, it's not a matter of whether I can do it or not, right?
Right.
It's just a matter of, hey, like when we getting started. And so what I've seen, man, and I agree with you in that. First of all, let me just say this. I feel like every person who's trying to discover that calling and just impact the world, you know, we all have to overcome ourselves, man, in some way, whether it's, you know, whether it's pride, whether it's, like you said, self-confidence, whether it's laziness, you got to overcome yourself at some point. Right. And so for me, it's saying I can be talented at a lot of stuff, but what would happen is, like you said, I might want things my own way. And because of that, I kind of force things going. And then before I know it, I'm on a completely wrong track or nothing's getting done.
But look at what we're up against, Brad. Like as kids, we're pushed almost to know what we want to do by the time we graduate high school.
Yeah.
We're pushed to what we feel like, oh, this is what I should be doing. That's crazy. I look back on my life right now at 18, I had no clue. But I thought I was grown.
Yeah.
I thought I was on my own. I was off to college. I was, but now looking back on that and I'm like, whoa. My grandfather used to just tell me, yeah, keep on living, son.
Yeah.
You'll go through it. So every time I talk to a younger group of kids and some of the teachers and administrators look at me kind of crazy when I say, you may not know what you want to do right now.
Right.
Which
is okay.
It's fine.
Which is okay. And, I like what my man Reggie said. He said, nothing can happen without God ordaining it, which I believe is true, because even if we do make decisions that may not be a part of his will, I think he finds a way to redeem it, that we learn something from it so that we can apply it in our purpose of calling, be able to provide lessons to other people. Also like what Maggie said. What's up, Maggie? I see you. She said, I feel the same way. I can do a lot of things too, figured out where I need to burn the boats. And that's where I was going, was that you're almost cursed by this ability and desire and being so driven to want to get so much done. But I feel like for folks who are real driven, like a lot of people who are watching this right now, I know everybody who's on this right now, they real driven, or you wouldn't be watching this right now, is that I feel like you end up getting there's more in being able to say no to the right things than what am I saying yes to? You know what I'm saying? Because we can do so well, but it's like, which one is going to be optimal for like what I'm trying to do? You know what I mean?
Right. That's man, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, because you have so many talents. You have so many things that you are, you feel like you can do.
Yeah.
And you can do it.
Yes.
But you have to, like I said, God has to ordain it. And that's anywhere from a marriage to a career to any choice, right? If that's not what you're in tune to, now you're reaping what you sow. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just point blank period.
Yeah.
Now you got to sleep in the bed you lay in. Sleep in the bed you made. You know how those folks are.
Right. Right. But no, that's true, man. And it took me being minimal or moderately successful at these things that I knew I could destroy. And it wasn't because of lack of the effort that I was putting in, Nicholas. It wasn't that was the thing, is I was like, why is this not producing results? Normally when I put in this type of work, I got results. And I feel like God got me to a point to where I start putting in so much work towards something that was the wrong direction, that wasn't for me. If God wanted it to happen based on the work I was putting in, it would have flourished. But God was like, this is not what I have designed for you. However, even though it's not, I'm going to have you learn phenomenal things at this place, and that you will bring into, hopefully someday, coming to the point of where I'm asking you to go. But you hit on something so key, bro, which is you got to be willing to listen, and you got to be in a place to be able to hear him talking to you. You got to be in that kind of space.
That's the main thing, man. And I think that's one of the hardest things, that if you do go down a situation or a road or a path, is learning what's trying to be taught. Listening. And saying, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this versus what was me? Why me? Why am I here? I work hard. I do this. Just learn from it. Get a lesson. Pick your head up and keep it moving. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And that's what, I try to tell even a lot of my guys. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what's happened. I don't care where you are. You're here now.
Yep.
So make the best of it. Learn from your situations. Keep moving. And that's life. That's life, man. The only thing is constant in life is change, taxes, and death.
No,
There's no way
no
getting
doubt. Probably in that order too.
there's no way getting I mean, things are going to change. Things are going to
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. You know, I think God, you know, allows us to make decisions that aren't in line with Him, but He's gracious enough for us to be able to, like you said, learn the lesson. And there's something so big in, because I remember at one point I got to, you know, like, man, like trying to figure out, like, you know, what am I designed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I feel like there's something else, and it stalled my career as a physician. When one of the things that I've learned and that I try to teach other people now is, look, you may not want to be where you are now, and I get it. But however, the best way to get clarity, the best way to maybe eventually get out, but the best thing you could do right now is work as hard as you can wherever you are now. Like, there's no way to lose by doing that. I understand you may not like the job. I understand you may not like, you know, maybe even the relationship, but do your part to the best that you possibly can. And there's nothing that can really go wrong from that. Like, there's nothing that can go wrong. Just be there, be a person of integrity. Obviously, we got a lot of women on this show. That's not just what I'm about to say. It's not just for men. It's for women as well. Just do the job at the highest integrity and character that you can. There's nothing that can go wrong from that. And I feel like if people could do that, but also start looking at opportunities, every single interaction with somebody is, how can I make this person's life better with my gifts, talents, and resources somehow? Even if it's something as simple as smiling, like you mentioned earlier.
You know, it's so crazy, Brad, like, and that's a conversation that me and you have. What you just said, I had to learn that.
Right? How'd you learn it? How did you learn that?
Through trials, through going through it, through people that were in the position that observed me in the job at my best and at my worst. And they said, man, I mean, you knocked it out of the park yesterday, but today, where were you? You know, so me being the person that wants to be a perfectionist, that wants to do the best job, period, you know, possible. You know, I've always loved every position that I've had while working for NASA, but sometimes I felt like I should have been somewhere else, right? And that caused a change in my productivity. So I had to understand, hey, that mentor that I was talking to you about earlier,
yeah,
hey, look, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, be the best. My dad, that I learned that through the trials of pledging the fraternity that I pledged, and it just, hey, see it through. Make it the best opportunity and the possibility. Make it the best thing possible.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, that's all you get to hang your hat on. Today, make today the best. And if you feel like you made a mistake, fix it tomorrow. If tomorrow.
Let me ask you. You mentioned one of the things you got to do is listen. I think that's listen to mentors, listen to people who are offering some, you know, guidance, but also listen to God. How do you do that? How have you learned to listen? What do you do?
It's actually seeking out, man. Finding people who you can not only listen to, but who you can relate to. I mean, even look in business. And Walmart, Publix, and Kroger probably sell all some of the same items. But because you have been a loyal Walmart customer, or you trust Walmart's product, I guarantee you will go to Walmart before you pass 3 Publix to go there, right? I said all that to say, don't only try to find somebody who you want to be like, find somebody who you want to relate to. Relate to you and your struggles and your trials and tribulations, because at the end of the day, they can talk from a personal experience, and that's what you're going to learn from the most. You also have to get to a point to where you're able to apply what you listen to. You're able to take what is said, not as criticism, but as help. They're in this position right now to try to help you, you know, because I was told, you know, they got this saying, it's not what you know is who you know. I would beg to differ. I don't think it's what you know or who you know. I think it's who knows you and what they know about you.
Ooh,
right? Today, when you get into these points and you get in these positions, you get in these high-ranking positions, you have meetings and different things where people discuss your past or discuss your productivity or discuss your regimen of whatever you can bring to this job. You may not even make the list just on something like that, right? So every day is an opportunity to make that feeling or what someone knows about you great. And you have to go and seek that out. Like early on in my career, I went to work, did my job, and came home. I felt like I was doing a great job. That's what I needed to do, right? Up until a couple of years ago, I went out and started seeking and looking at people who, where do I want to be, right? How do I get there? You can tell me how to get there. You're a physician. Would you go and talk to somebody who has no clue of where you want to get about something and where you want to be? No. You're going to go talk to somebody who's been there.
That's right.
And then when they tell you something that you may not like, you have to understand that, hey, they're not telling me that just because they feel like telling me that. They're telling me that because they've gone through it. They've been there. And that's what they feel like got them there. And everybody gets there different. So, take everything with a grain of salt. Listen to, people that have been there. Listen to people that are giving you good advice. All advice isn't good advice. So you have to be able to, discern which is which. And that has a lot to do with listening to God.
Man, part of what you said is what, number one, I fully agree with. And I think people need to understand is that, number one, if you're going to seek, you should seek counsel. You should seek guidance. You should seek coaching and mentorship, because there's other people who have been where you're trying to go. And if you can fully define where it is that you're trying to go or who you're trying to be, you can find somebody out there who's like that, or at least extremely similar, and get some information from them. But the other part is you always have to consider the source that feedback is coming from. I joke about this all the time. I have some people I take business advice from because they're phenomenal at business, but I never take marriage advice from them because they're on their third, fourth marriage. You know what I'm saying? So you have to consider the source. I cannot tell you, you cannot get through this life without having other people. You cannot get to the next level without having other people. You can't just be about working your way there. These people know information. I would not be where I am right now if it wasn't for people who knew how to be a physician. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for people who taught me how to speak, how to do, how to coach. And I'm sure the same is for you, man. Man, as we start, what's that?
It's all about the team. It's about the people that you put around you, the people that you're able to take counsel from, the people that you're able to listen to. Just like you said, you got to know who to put where. You got to know when to listen. When to say, oh, all right, yeah, I heard you, but okay, So,
and the thing is, but what the funny part about it is people don't realize that they have a choice of who they can put on the team. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You can choose who to put on your team. You can choose to put on, I like to call it your board of directors for your life.
Right.
You can choose who these people are going to be.
Right.
And we can't get there without having some other folks, man. As we start to wrap up, man, we could go on for at least another couple hours, quite honestly. But I'm going to ask you a couple questions. The first question is what's the biggest lesson you've learned, man?
The biggest lesson I've learned, in my career, and the thing that I could probably pass on is to know oneself, really get in tune to where you're taking counsel from, and to get in tune with where you get your counsel from, and meaning your higher, your God. I know where my help comes from. And, as far as I stray left or right, it still comes to a point to where you got to come back. You got to come back. And at that point, you know exactly what you need to do. Would you want to do it every time that it comes to you? No. Another thing that I would say is to reach out to people. Just like you said, it's all about the team. You'll never get anywhere by yourself. So at the end of the day, you have to reach out to those people for help. Ask questions. Know as much about what you're doing It's possible. Get to a point to where you know that, okay, I'm in this position. What can I do better? Even if I know, I feel like I know a lot about it, what can I do better? Right? So it's a lot of lessons. Like I said, we could talk for days. Things that I could, just small nuggets that I could give, and that are out there. Just things that I've learned and things that I still do to this day. Like I said, it's funny that we're going through this and talking about purpose, because I'm still going through that right now, and it's allowing me to do better in my career. It's allowing me to do better, with people that I mentor, and just put me in a different headspace. So I'm glad of it.
This question is, man, because I know you're extremely driven and you want to do big things. What impact you want to have on the world, man?
Hey, when I leave, I know that this world will keep moving, no matter how big or how small that I am. I feel like I am, or other people feel like I am, because I try to, remain humble and say, hey, I'm just a person that's here trying to make the world better than it was when I was born into it. And that's what I feel like I'm doing, not only with NASA, thinking about the new Artemis mission that we're coming up. So I'm playing a big part in getting the next man and the first woman on the moon.
Wow.
And planning the next mission, to get people on Mars. And will we see it? That's on us. That's on me, and that's on the team that I work with and my expertise. So I feel like that impact will be very big with this football team. I hope somebody can say, man, coach taught me this. Our coach put me in this position. Our coach showed me that I could be something different. And even going to the music, I hope somebody can listen to something that would help them. Don't worry about me. I mean, as long as it gets you to your point of peace, that's all that matters to me.
Man, the last question I have is, say it's somebody who's very similar to you years ago, right? And you're trying to figure this thing out. You're trying to figure out, what am I gonna, I don't know necessarily if I'm supposed to go down this road or that road. Trying to impact the world, young, confident guy, right? What's the best piece of advice that you could tell him?
You better pray about it, brother. You better pray about it, make the decision, and stick with it. Because the worst thing you can do is to second guess yourself. Pray about it, stick with it, and deal with the consequences that come behind it. And be ready to deal with that. And that goes back into what we started talking about, is knowing yourself. Knowing what you can deal with, knowing what trials that you can bounce back from. Because everybody can't be put in the same situation and come out the same way.
Right. If
you ask three people three different questions, or the same question, I guarantee you get three different answers. Because we're all different. Right? So pray about it, seek counsel, and understand what you're getting yourself into, and knowing that that's what you want to do. That's not what anybody else wants you to do. That's not what you've been told that you should do. That's what's been told that you're good at, and that's how you should navigate. What do you want to do? At the end of the day, that's what's going to make your passion your paycheck. That's what make you get up in the morning and you smile about doing what you're doing. What do you want to do? We sometimes we get caught up so much in life and get caught up in this job because we're making a certain amount of money, and now you've been working this job 15, 20 years and you're miserable. Why? Because you've gotten up every day wanting to go to work. And we know that we got to have jobs, man. It's tough, right? But all in all, it's enough time in the day for you to figure out what your passion is and make your passion your paycheck. So I've read, The Purpose Driven Life by I forget the author.
Rick Warren.
Rick Warren.
Yeah.
A lot of the Simon Sinek books start with why. Find why leaders eat last. Those things in those books are written by people who've been there, who've done that. And I don't care if you really get to a point you say, why am I reading this? I guarantee you'll find a nugget in there that you can use and put towards your life. How much you read. You can just read the back summary of the book, and I guarantee you'll find something that you can apply to yourself. So, I would say educate yourself as much as possible on what you want to do. People that are working and they're entrepreneurs, everybody's not built to run a business.
They're not.
Everybody's not built to be an entrepreneur. So find what you want to do. Find what part you play in that and love what you do. Because if you love what you do, you're going to put your best foot forward regardless.
Man. Dude, yeah, we're going to have to keep talking offline, man. We're going to have to come up with like a, post Men of Impact show outtakes or something like that, because we're going to keep this conversation going. Hey, listen, you guys, and so many people have been chiming in. Tabby, Josephine, Shadrach.
That's my mom. I know that.
Yeah. So many people chiming in. Maggie, thank you guys for tuning in and chiming in. Hey, Nicholas, man, first I want to thank you again. And I told you this before you came on the show, just for taking the time. I know this is something you don't have to do. And the fact that you came on to be able to share some of your wisdom and insight and just some of the stuff that you do, man, I appreciate it. I am literally in awe with the stuff that you do in terms of, when you talk about NASA, and I can even see you getting that headspace as you're talking about it, International Space Station, and getting the first, possibly first, man and woman on the moon and Mars and all this other stuff, man. It is phenomenal. I consider you a friend. Again, I appreciate it, man. And maybe at some point in the future, be able to have you back and have part 2 of this whole purpose thing, man. So I appreciate you. Oh,
yes, sir. Hey, it's a very humbling experience. Hey, I'm honored to take the time to do this show. Thanks to Shadrach that linked us up, man. I don't know if you just signed up as a lifetime mentor and coach to myself. So
nice.
You've gone ahead and signed up for it. I didn't even have to ask. So, we'll be talking, man. And I'm looking forward to being back and sharing some more ideas and just, even bringing other people back that can share some of their ideas. So
yeah.
Looking forward to it, man. For
sure. Well, I'm gonna have you stay on here. So you guys, again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and share this information. If it's been a blessing to you, more than likely it's going to be a blessing to somebody else. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on the replay, again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, we'll be back next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, with another amazing guest here on Men of Impact, the show where high-achieving men come to discover their calling, turn their purpose into profits, and impact the world. We'll see you guys later.